Hello, everybody. How you doing? This is SNN. This is Street News Now. Six guys and you, and you over there in the corner. Every Thursday evening, you catch us at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. on the West Coast. It is brought to you by, there you go, you said it right there, Street News Now. Also go to the YouTube channel and type in SNN, Street News Now. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, and make sure you share. Also catch us on Facebook Live, and Twitter, and Twitch. Our fearless leader, Lee Michaels, is always doing something, so he's not here right now, but we keep it down. We hold it until he gets back. But all of us, I've nicknamed the MICs the Masters of Intellectual Chaos. Let's not even waste any more time. Let's go around the table and bring forth Professor Reggie Miles. How you doing, sir?
It is wonderful to be here with the Street News Network, Street News Now. Did I say that right?
Yeah, Street News. Well, I know how that. You've been working all day.
Because you know how it is.
Yes, I understand.
I'm having brain fogs, but I do have something to add to Funkadelic.
Nice. That's nice. That's how you do it.
I have something to add to Funkadelic, so we're going to do that tonight, and I think I'm gonna call it the Professor's Corner. I think I'm gonna brand it.
Okay, look at you.
Come on, man. Now, Bates, you know how you.
I know how you rock and roll, doctor. I know, man.
You know I got to do something, but it's two things that's on my mind tonight that I want to share with the crew. God bless you, and God bless all the rest of the brothers.
And good night. It's like the end of the show already. All right, good night. Good night. Right, exactly. You got started, Jill. Let's also bring in Buck Wild. How are you doing, Buck?
Hey, I am always good when I am breathing.
Nice.
Well, you know, I was thinking about this, like the closer you get to death, the more you start to realize, oh, you know what, it's coming. When you're young, when you're in your 20s, it's like, oh, well, that's way far in the future. I ain't gonna worry about that. Then you cross the 40 barrier. It's like, I'm halfway there.
Like, oh,
right. You keep on going. It's like,
I know, right? As always, thank you for being here, Mr. Mike Love.
Yes, sir. Thanks so much for putting the M and the R together.
Yes.
Thank you, Buck. Thank you.
How you doing, Mike Love?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I'm happy to be alive. I'm glad that God woke me up this morning. And, that's what it's all about. Happiness is the key to salvation.
Yes,
it is.
Yeah.
That's nice. And a person will appreciate being alive because he just told us in the green room, he's still alive. He's still alive. Well, if this is not alive, I don't know what the hell is. Dr. Ron Ford.
Yeah, man, some people are alive and don't know it. So, I like to make sure that I say it and I acknowledge the fact I'm alive and I know it.
Yep.
Well, somebody has to know. That's all right, right?
If you're living it, you know it. Clap your hands.
Yes.
Look, you ain't never heard of The Walking Dead, brother? They got a bunch of them. They made movies out of it. Yeah.
Although I hate zombie shows. This is the stupidest thing. Oh,
you ain't got to be a zombie to be The Walking Dead. You just don't. You don't know whom's causes you to be alive. Come on now, you're gonna make me take a text in a minute.
Hey, come on, congregation. Come on with it. Come on. Come on, congregation.
Wow. Preach.
Don't be ashamed to call his name.
That's right. Look, a big difference from the start of the show, right?
No, without a doubt. Yeah.
Right, absolutely.
Right. And then waking up is not guaranteed. Look at the actor who just died, Full House.
Bob Saget.
Yeah.
Bob Saget. They say he just went to sleep and didn't wake up. I was like, wow.
A whole bunch of people. I'm telling you, I'm slightly scared of this age range because it seems like everyone in my age range is passing. But I really can't say that because over the fourth quarter of 2021, we had a slew of entertainers who just checked out, and a lot of them went over 45 years old.
Yeah.
Well, you're right.
It's crazy.
And that's ironically, that's going to be my topic tonight about celebrity deaths. I'm watching these celebrity deaths in the media, and I thought about, my own personal deaths that I've gone through like anybody else in their life. And then my question would be later on in the program, if you can have one last conversation with someone that you know is about to pass away, what would you say to them? And I'll get into the reason I brought that up later on. But again, it's one of those things where we're all congregating. We are all here. And since he's in the pulpit, and since he mentioned about getting the show started, let's begin the topic tonight with Dr. Ron Ford.
All right. Well, you know, I've got a hot topic straight out of the national news cycle. You know, in Chicago, there has been a big hoopla about the teachers not going back to school. And, you know, the mayor, you know, made a real big deal out of opposing their decision not to go back. And she even went so far as to say, if you don't go back, we're not going to pay you for the days off. Well, obviously, there was a lot of fear in the hearts of the teachers.
They have a union, though, right? They have a
Yeah.
union? Oh,
Yes.
okay. Well, can't do that.
Yeah. You know, there was a lot of fear in the hearts of the teachers because the plan they put in place over the holiday, the Christmas holiday, failed miserably. They were supposed to do testing of the students, send the test in so that the students would be able to be tested and have results before the school season started back. Well, those test kits did not make it to the test facility in time to do any good.
Oh, you're talking about the standardized test, or you're talking about the COVID test?
COVID tests.
Oh, the COVID tests were, I mean, the COVID tests were right there. I mean, here in Dallas, there were lines on the streets. There's a, I can't think of the name of the street right now, but for blocks, you know, they had, you know, coned off a lane. And I mean, we're talking about 5 or 6 blocks with just cars lined up for people trying to take that test.
Well,
same here in Atlanta.
The plan that the school system came up with prior to the Christmas break was that we're going to send test kits home with the children. They're going to drop them in a FedEx box, and then they're going to go to the laboratory. They're going to examine the test, and then they'll be able to determine whether the children tested positive or negative or not. Well, they had FedEx boxes overflowing with test kits that never made it to the laboratory. So the teachers, you know, they, you know, objected strongly to this system that did not work. And they're like, well, look, we don't know what these children have after being off for 2-3 weeks celebrating the holiday season. And we're not comfortable going back into the classrooms at this particular time. So they rose up, the teachers union, you know, do what they do. They rose up and they began to, you know, complain. So the scheduled time that they were supposed to go back, they didn't go. There were no teachers in the classroom. And of course, the parents rose up like, no, you're going to take these little rascals back because we don't want them at home with us. You got to take them into your schools. And then they, you know, went to court. And then the mayor tried to be a bully, and she was fighting against their decision not to go back into the classrooms. And then she tried to apply a pressure, and the pressure being, well, you're not going to get paid for all the time that you're sitting at home. Well, if I was a school teacher, you know, nothing against you, Professor. If I was a school teacher, you know, I wouldn't care about a day's pay or 2 or 3 days pay compared to the possibility that I could lose my life. Because if I get a hold of this, you know, this germ that's floating around and get sick and die, what good is the salary? You know, it's not going to do me any good. So it was a lot of fear, you know, that was, you know, involved in their decision-making process. And the mayor did not care. You know, she did not care what the feelings were about the school teachers. She didn't care. All she wanted to do is appease, I guess, the parents. And then they were in negotiations all the way up until last night. So today was the first day that they decided to go back to school. They reached an agreement. But ironically, okay, y'all ready for the punchline?
Mm-hmm.
The mayor tested positive on today. Was it yesterday or today? You know, so
that's not surprising though.
Is this a black mayor?
Yes.
Oh, Chicago! Don't embarrass yourself like that. Yes.
The last mayor wasn't black. The last mayor wasn't black.
Well, we're not talking about the last. We're talking about current events.
Thanks, Mike. I was just clarifying here.
Yeah, help him out,
Just
Mike.
clarifying. Just
We're talking about current events now. Don't do that. Don't
clarifying.
do that.
Yeah. So, you know, with all of the things that, you know, went on with her fighting them so hard and their concern about their health, and then she turned around and get it. So, you know,
I got to bust in with this right here, and I get your point, but I think that's weak in the excuses because, ironically, we just do not know how this virus is transmitted, and for some reason, we've never gotten the truth from our federal government. If they know, they're not telling. I think they believe they'll be inciting panic. If they do, and it's possible. Because with social media and other forms of information being dispersed at such a high level, you really do have to be careful. I mean, social media is literally out of control when it delivers information. And I think with this whole thing that Mark Zuckerberg is trying to do to get the Facebook under control, I was tagged the other day. I shared, there's a group that I had called the Programming Department. It's a Facebook group. And I just put a story on that was put out by another publication that talked about some females being promoted in Birmingham. And they tagged me and said that the information was inaccurate or whatever. I know that they got appointed to these positions, so I don't know where the inaccuracy came. But I think that Facebook is really trying to police information that's coming through because Facebook clearly has lost the control that it had. It started off as a way to invite and get people to parties and just everybody just kind of being in a kumbaya moment. And now it's like a super highway with no direction. And I can't say that because the mayor ended up with COVID-19 or having however you want to express it, that was wrong. People, ironically, are looking for excuses not to go back to work for any job, not just teachers. I mean, remember, and this is going to show our age. Remember when everybody wanted a job at the post office?
Show your
postal
age.
Service?
Because I never wanted a job at the post office.
Well, I'm older than you, but I'm just saying at one point. Go ahead, Professor.
No.
He was agreeing.
You know, I worked at the post office.
That was a big thing, getting a job at the post office.
It wasn't.
And I was passing the post office the other day, and I mean, they literally have a sign outside that they're hiring. You never saw that.
$5.24 an hour. Civil service employee, man, please. Folk don't, I ain't gonna even get started on the benefits of that job working for the United States Postal Service.
Is that the current rate, 520, or
no?
when you?
No.
Back then, no.
In 1972.
Yeah, and that was big money, 520.
Yeah, $5.24 an hour. But the benefits alone made up for the job. My check couldn't get garnished. I didn't have to go. It was nothing. As a civil service employee back in the day, there was nothing you could do to a federal employee. I mean, it was great. It was when the devil's son, Ronnie Reagan, came in and he cut all that stuff out, man. They started. That's why Mike, everybody wanted to work at the post office.
Everybody wanted to work. If you get a job, man, you had made it, you know.
Because that spelled security. The last line of civil service employees was in 1975. I got hired in 1972.
Wow, incredible.
Can't say that about teachers though. That is a hard job too. Teaching is such a hard job.
Well, at the elementary, the primary and elementary levels, yeah, because it's so much red tape in between that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
I love teaching for Howard, and then now I'm at a state school, man. And it's like being in a penitentiary, man. You gotta fill out a requisition for a paperclip.
Oh,
incredible.
With some of the little things that you want to do. It's like now, and I'm gonna compare it like this. It's like some of the ways that when a company first gets into the, starts coming into business and they're doing their thing, and then it gets so big that a corporation buys it. And the first thing that happens with that is that the service it gets lousy.
Yeah, it takes a hit immediately.
Yeah, as soon as you can't get any service. And so, like, the one thing that I did like about, being an academic and then working with colleagues, you could set up relationships with your peers, like in IT or in other departments. But now none of that happens, because now you got to go, you have to follow the chain of command on everything. And so, man, and if you don't know the chain of command, it's just sometimes a lot of things just they won't be done.
Corporate radio's gotten that way though too.
Yeah, that's my point. That's what I'm saying. It's like for example, with that, I'm trying to get some work done on my automation system right at the school. And so here we go. This company, when it started out, it got bought up by a radio giant, right? And so now they want to put you on one fee of $1,300 for a service for the entire year.
Is that wide orbit?
No, I'm not. I'm not gonna.
Oh, you can't. Okay.
I know better than that, right? But that's how it gets messed up. Because it seems like the bigger it gets, the less personal, or the relationships, the good things that you have, they're gone. They get eroded, man.
Well, when you talk about going back to elementary, it was a time and a place where you could paddle kids, you could set the parameters in a classroom, and all of that's been taken away. If you say anything to a child, they go home and tell their mom. The mom's up there ready to whoop the teacher's ass.
Fight.
And it's bad. And so there's no direction. But the parent never believes that some of that is their fault, because, we were taught, how to present ourselves in public. Mm-hmm. And whether you were at a family reunion, if you was at somebody's funeral or wake or whatever the case may be, parents were always monitoring how you acted. My dad had a look. If I was doing something, if I'm clowning with the other kids and I just, you just happen to be, you roughhousing, and I turn over and see him, he just had this look. And all of a sudden, I would just fade away from them, and I'd be over in the corner, and they'd be like, "What happened?" I mean, my dad could shut it down. He could raise his hand.
Oh yeah,
and shut it down.
No, my dad was the same way. My dad showed me this look, man. And you ever see the episode on the Flintstones when Fred was talking to his boss and he started to shrink?
Oh yeah, Mr. Slade.
Yeah, Mr. Slade. That's how I felt, man. It didn't take much. I want to backtrack to what Dr. Ron was saying about Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot and using the word bullying. The question I have for you is this: do we expect politicians to care? Now, let me explain what I mean by that. Just as obvious question, but I'm watching Lori Lightfoot making the national rounds, Meet the Depressed on NBC and other programs and stuff like that. I think she's trying to really set herself up for her next gig from a national political perspective. I don't expect her to care. So you're using the word bully, which I totally agree with. Why should we expect politicians to care about us?
Well,
what is she saying about bullying, though?
Her actions were bullying towards the teachers and the teachers union. Okay. The role of a public official is supposed to be to serve and protect the people that voted them in. Now, they miss that mark often, okay? because, once they get in office, I can remember last summer, Lori Lightfoot got into a debate with a female alderman, and they went, that woman was taller than her, so you can't say that, they went toe to toe, but they were going at each other, very aggressively, and that was captured by the media. And that alderman told her, look, I'm not one of your children. You just can't tell me anything any kind of way. And that's been the approach that the mayor of Chicago has used quite often, talking to grown folks like they're her children. And just because she has mayor on the front of her name as a title and a job description, you got voted in, you can get voted out. Because I don't think it was wisdom on her part to pick a fight with the teachers union. That's just ridiculous, because that's one of the most strongest unions in the city of Chicago. And, she obviously, I think, in response to your question, Chris, she has lost who's supposed to be the serve and protect part of what her job description is.
I don't think she has no counsel. I think she just operating from where she is on her own. And I don't actually think that she really trusts or believes in anybody around her. Because one of the things that I did hear in regards to the mayor of Chicago, that she was all the people that could help her with from previous years, or that was always in league with previous mayors that helped them run Chicago, people that knew where the dead bodies were.
She got rid of them.
Yeah, or they walked away from her because based on that attitude. But when somebody's short, you always got to put in that Caesar complex, man.
Come on, man, stop picking on Dr. Ron. Now let me ask a question.
He's 6'3".
Let's talk about Mayor Daley. He was very aggressive in his politics and how he handled things in the city of Chicago. So what's the difference?
What you saying? Because he's white, he get away with it?
No. I'm talking about his prowess as the mayor of Chicago. I mean, he took on a lot of fights against unions and other oppositions.
The daddy or the son, or both?
The daddy.
Oh, well, the daddy.
Yeah, the daddy ran with an iron fist. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
If he did, though, daddy was still sending out cheese to other places too. See.
Okay.
He wasn't just barking. But he was sending out meat to other places as well. So whereas people, when he did say something, they said, "You bet." That's what the mayor said.
That was it. It was gangster.
Yeah,
it was gangster.
Exactly.
Yeah, they
was
backed
gangster.
him. They backed him. But he, as much that he was pushing against, he was pushing for at the same time. See, I don't think Lightfoot is doing. You got Mama used to always say, you got to mix the bitter with the sweet. She got to give them something. You just can't be sour grapes, or it can't be just your way. Where's the compromise? You got to. It's a give and take thing on both sides, and it appears that she's not giving nothing.
But isn't it a different day and age? I mean, nowadays, if you get somebody gangster like that in the office, I mean, they're ready to kill them.
Well, you got to look at it like this too. I'm going to make a whole population mad right now. When men talk to people, they don't talk to people like they're talking to their children. Okay. This woman being in politics, talks to people like they're her children.
And women can't even help it. Like they're not even aware of it.
And it happened last year and year before, when the pandemic was, being defined of what COVID protocol was. She was going around talking to grown people, talking about, get in the house right now. Am I lying?
That's funny.
They were following her around, they were, but it set a negative tone, because like, you ain't my mama, and it's carried over. That's the way she talks, and it has created some negative waves in there with the way she communicates.
You think that's a black woman thing or just women, period? Just asking.
Now, I just think with her, it's just the attitude thing. Because it's like I said, there's some deep people in the city that, you know, they turn their back on her. They turn their back on her right off the day. In other words, you got somebody that's been around the city a lot of times. They know where the landmines is. So they won't tell her where the mines is. They'll just let her walk out in the field and step on the mines and blow herself up. They don't care that, and so they've lost that with her. And so the only thing I can say is that when things like that happen, you bring that on yourself.
Yes.
You bring that on yourself. Nobody owe you nothing.
I thought though the more of the conversation was going to be about the teachers and them being in a really unfair position and be made to felt like they made to go back to work when when these little nasty little kids are running around spreading the virus. And I feel bad for them. You know?
That's
I
true,
really feel bad for them.
But the way, like Dr. Ron said, it's the way in that she's presenting this.
Right.
You know, that it's the way that she's presenting it that's causing the problem. But of course, if it were me, you understand, if them kids were getting sick or something, you just got to dock my pay because even if you pay me, even if you know I could earn pay or whatever, if I'm dead, I can't spend it.
Exactly.
Well, kids everywhere. Teachers everywhere are scared though. The same thing. You hear the same thing from teachers here in Atlanta, and the whole metro area. It's like they're all scared because you know how kids are. They're not going to follow all the COVID protocols they're supposed to.
Yeah, well, look at the Clorox commercials. You know, when they come on, they show when the kids touch everything, they pick up the piano keys. They carry everything that they touch, and I think you make a great point, Buck. I think we're living in fear. Period. Now that's not a contributing factor to what you guys are talking about in the behavior of the mayor. Chicago politics has always been vicious in its own right, and I think the public at large has always seen it. You know, from even including the Illinois governors. How many Illinois governors have gone to prison? 4, 5?
Too many.
Too many. Okay, let's stick at that number.
All of them was crooked.
All of them were crooked. And I think, one of the things that we see a lot of times, we don't always know what we see, you know, and sometimes this defensive role that's being played it shouldn't be directed at the public at large, but it is because you're trying to send a message to the people who are controlling the constituents that you're trying to reach, or you expect to do what you say do because now you've been elected mayor.
Yeah.
And that's an awkward position to be in.
Now, I need to fix this statement I just made about women and how they talk sometimes. Mm-hmm. Now, grandma always knew how to get you to do what you need to do because she always used a little sugar when she said what she said. Now, baby, you need to take care of this and you need to take care of it now. And you did what grandma said.
But grandma sometimes said, wait a minute, hold on.
Not my grandma, she beat your ass.
Yeah, sometimes grandma would say, because I said so.
And that too. But you understand
clearly.
It's the mastery of how you ask and how you approach that gets it done. You know, and
taking
that's
the
all
sugar with the sweet.
Yes.
And also too, not all leaders know anything about leadership. I mean, leadership that's like one of the defining things about leadership. You have to get people to do what you want them to do, even if you don't have any force over them, any kind of leverage over them. And some people just aren't good at that.
But also stating the obvious that we all know, and everybody in the comment section knows as well, is that this is about money. It's about headcount. It's about state funding. It's about government funding.
Absolutely.
So at the risk of children's lives, and the lives of the teachers and the lives of the administrators.
Money from the state.
As long as you get what you said before, if you did, you can't spend a damn thing. Yeah, so the thing about it is that you would think, even though it's not going to happen, you would think that politicians will say, you know what, We didn't see COVID-19 coming. We didn't see this wave across the nation and beyond. We should have humans first. We should take care of our human being. We take care of everybody, but that's too much like right. As long as we get the head count, as long as we get the check, it doesn't matter. So if you get it and if somebody else gets it, hey, I ain't gonna get it. So,
right, but part of that though is how the government, and you see what I'm saying here, the way the government's set up. The government set up is that if you don't use the money that you got this year, then we're going to cut it all from next year. So maybe that's part of it too. I don't know.
Right. I would think in an emergency situation like this, there should be an executive order.
You would think.
Because again, right. You would think, right. So that's too much like right. You do an executive order to make sure the monies are funded state by state. But again, when everybody wants to play politics, if everybody gets involved in it, it's always about my people and my constituencies. Everybody else, just get the crumbs. If that much.
The more attendance in the schools during the first week, that makes a bigger check.
Right.
Yeah. And I think everybody's game plan now overall is herd immunity. They're not afraid of people getting it because they feel like they're going to survive it and they'll be alive at the end of whatever, whether it affects them hard, harsh, or whatever. They feel like, the sooner we get to herd immunity, the more we can get back to quote unquote, air quotes, normal. Okay. So that's a game plan that has always been in place since 45 was in office, and I think they're pushing it. Get the vaccination, go ahead on and get sick, go ahead on and get well, and keep on going. So,
but when you look at so many people dying, they keep talking about the Omarion variation, whatever they go.
That's it. Keep going.
Anyway, the variant, the Omicron variant, and how it's mild. It's more mild. Yeah, it's going to reach everybody. But then when you look at the numbers of people still dying, I said this to somebody today. It was like, if you think about when they have a big airplane crash, right? And 200 people die, everybody's in horror. Like, oh my goodness, 200 people died. Oh. And then you look at the numbers of people that are dying, thousands are dying a day. Here, you think about in terms of airplanes, it's like that's 20 airplanes happening, crashing every single day.
I'm sorry,
we're getting to the point where we're just kind of getting numb to all these numbers.
I'm sorry, real quick, but do you say Omicron or Omarion? Which, because if you get Omarion, that means you're going to turn into an RBC and get big nostrils.
I knew you was going.
No, but you
couldn't let that pass, Chris. I ain't with you, man. Give me some right there. You had to do that, man.
What were you saying, Reggie?
Listen, either we had numbness in the brain, or we just actually didn't listen to what we heard about last year, or either we just got to be stupid. Many of us, right? We just got to be stupid.
Amen. Amen.
They told us it was said that this thing goes further and it expands in the cold weather. Yeah. Didn't they say that? Am I right or wrong?
They said that, yeah.
Well, because people are indoors and they're in closer proximity. I mean,
however it is, but didn't they say it increases when it's cold?
That's right.
Yep. So my dumb ass is going to stay in the house till it gets warm.
Hey, look, I totally agree with you, Professor. And in conclusion to this, I guess the final note on the teachers, my heart goes out to the teachers. They already got a hard enough job. They already got to deal with, other people's problems and issues, and I mean their kids. So to try to push them into a situation where it's not as safe health-wise, because kids got germs when it ain't no virus.
Hey.
Come on now.
But that's what I said, going back to the Clorox commercial, they talk about kids can pick up germs anywhere.
And even if kids are less susceptible to dying, they're still carriers. People who
That's right.
people who are even vaccinated and boosted can still be carriers. And so
And quiet as it's kept, they got a crazy flu season going on right now.
Man,
wow.
everybody gotta slow their jets down. That's all. We
Mhm.
already had practice. You understand? We had
Right.
practice, right? We had a year where we was like quarantine. Okay. So for me, it's not that big of a deal to just turn it off and just to be cool.
Right.
You
No,
know,
we had practice. And I ain't talking about Allen Iverson, IA practice. Practice.
Right, right.
Like we talking about that. We talking
I ain't
about we
practice.
actually had practice, right?
You tell
Yeah,
Larry
yeah.
Brown I don't practice.
Right. Exactly.
and we got a lot of people that's out here that's still saying that, and they're dying.
Yes.
And they're dying. So
Yes.
either you got to turn the light on yourself. Some got to be done, but you got to make that decision. And I hope you make the right decision.
Amen.
for
Amen.
yourself.
And a women. As,
Yeah.
All right.
Chris
That's right.
said.
Make
Yeah,
the right
that's
decision. Make the right decision for yourself. Because I'm not gonna be arguing about it. I had somebody got on the phone and a friend of mine recently passed and said, well, yeah, well, they got the shot, got the booster, and then they died, and the person was going on and on with this rant. And I just waited till it got finished. I say, look, boy, listen, now I hear what you're saying, but I'm not gonna go along with that program because I got the shot, the second shot, and the booster, and I'm still alive.
Me too.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
I don't want to hear that. I'm not taking the shot.
Mhm.
I feel sorry for people that didn't take this shot and get sick.
Mhm.
Because
And
one
die.
lady, one lady just I'm in my on one of my other shows, she just told me that she went to the hospital and she couldn't get proper care
That's right.
because it's backed up.
Mhm.
People can't get proper care. The hospitals are like over flooded. So you got to remember your ABCs. You got to be cool. Everybody got to be cool. You always have to be cool right now until things get a little bit warmer. Everybody got to slow your jets down.
Yeah, we got to move on. Sorry.
Throwing it back to
Okay.
you, Chris.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Buck, for the interjection. We're going to get to your topic momentarily. We'll get to you. Professor, you have an interesting topic you want to bring up. It's one of those stories that would never go away. The floor is yours, sir.
Well, listen, I saw this. I've been seeing these promotions for this Bill Cosby, this docuseries. It's a 4-part docuseries that's going to be on one of the networks, and they're going to talk about his cultural impact and the effects that he's having. The series aims to chart the career, his rise and fall of Mr. Bill Cosby. It's been presented at this Sundance Film Festival and everything. Now, as far as I'm concerned, the fall didn't register with me. It was like I was a straight loyalist with Mr. Cosby. I never believed any of the complaints or whatever. I thought it was always a conspiracy. I'm figuring that he did something and some people got mad at him or whatever, and they were trying to discredit. But what this series is going to look at, it's really going to be really hard because he was like America's dad. And then some of the great films that he added a whole lot to the pot.
A lot.
He added a whole lot to the pot. And then all of a sudden, I think they're trying to build up this preponderance of allegations. And I'm wondering how that's going, what effect will that have? And I'm trying to think of what other black man that, rose that didn't come out with any scandal or they didn't try to bring him down in the fourth quarter of their life. And that really doesn't make any, it's really hard for me to accept that this man can't see anymore. He's going through his health challenges. But the one thing that I stand strong on, what gives me faith, when the man's wife never left him. And
right.
And then too, there have been attacks towards her. And that just makes me
disrespectful.
And that just makes me believe that everything that has been on him was really a conspiracy. It's been contrived to get him to not let a black man have a great legacy. What you say?
Well, how come that effect didn't happen to Byron Allen, who's up to almost 100 television stations at this point? And the whole thing started when they said that Bill Cosby wanted to buy NBC. Now, the approach to the situation in corporate America, is all about the have and the have-nots, and we'll talk about that in my segment. But I'm with you, Professor, in the sense of Bill was down in the grotto with Hugh Hefner and Dean and all the boys, and they did a lot of stuff. My thing is, how come if he's doing it, they were doing it? How did he get called out and they didn't get called out? You know what I'm saying? In that mansion out there in Los Angeles, by that guy that's got the publication of naked pictures of Buck Wild in it. But, the thing of it is, you look at these situations, and like you said, what is the purpose of the attack? Because he became America's dad on Thursday nights. Thursday nights have never, right, there you go. Thursday nights were never the same again. If you wanted to, all the other TV shows or all the other TV producers knew that if you wanted your show to be successful, it had to be on Thursday night. If you got on Thursday night, the rest was history. Nobody cared about the other nights. But Thursday night became unique because of the Cosby Show. Race, creed, color, that's right. And it all narrowed into that. I don't know what he possibly could have done at a level of disrespect for somebody to call him out and not call out the others, because I believe all of them were duping women. And I think a lot of that got started, and I don't want to be charged with saying that I know this happened, because I don't. But that whole thing with the grotto, and them guys being in that little cave swimming pool thing, with the girls out there.
Can you explain that? Because I don't, that's totally beyond me.
Okay, at the Playboy Mansion, they had this area that's where they had the girls, and all the celebrities would be there. And so they were saying some massive things were going on down there, basically like orgies that were going on.
Not like
now you're speaking my language.
Yeah.
They were orgies.
They were orgies. That's right.
All right.
Yeah. And just to echo what you're saying, it was a different time. The Playboy empire started in the 60s and carried through a time where sexual liberation,
free love.
Yeah, free love, true love.
I missed it too.
It was a lot of promiscuous behavior going on during those time periods that, like you say, it was a lot of people doing it. And one of the comments that was made during the attack or the assassination on Bill's character was he pissed somebody off.
Obviously.
Because they launched an attack that came after him that was second to none. And they put a lynch mob together of scorned women. And they judged him and his behavior in the 20s, like the 2000s. They went all the way back and judged his behavior of what he was doing back in the 60s and 70s. And Eddie Griffin, came out and made a statement during that time saying that, look, everybody was doing it. There was coke and weed and preludes and all kinds of,
preludes.
Stuff
not quaaludes, but preludes.
whatever.
That's funny.
Same thing.
Same
Right?
thing, you know. But the statement was reflecting the fact that there was a lot of stuff going on during those times, and to go fast forward to 2000 and say this was wrong, you can't undo a whole era. Okay, you can't undo it. That era existed in time, and stuff took place during that era that should not be, you know, you should not be tried for that in 2000 anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you
that's
had
the
a
point
guy
that
that
I'm
was
making.
producing a magazine that showed women naked, and that magazine could be purchased almost anywhere.
And
I used to
still
go
can.
look at it in college at the bookstore at college.
and still
But
can.
it was art.
No, it wasn't.
Nobody said it was art.
No, it
I'm
wasn't.
just saying.
No, it
was
wasn't.
nudity.
Because it is funny how Playboy got away with a lot of, or didn't have such a bad stigma, but yet Penthouse, oh, they're the devil.
Well, it was
And
the
Black
difference-
Tail.
and it was the difference in the owners and the publishers of the magazine.
That's true. And the women, because there was a class segment there. The women that you would see in the Playboy magazine, I mean, they went out of their way to make these women really look good.
Gorgeous.
You know, with the
Well, because they would get the top of the top photographers.
yeah.
Yeah,
And women, so
they
and
focused
because
on
of that,
blue-eyed blonde hair too.
well,
Yeah.
I mean, they had
Come
some
on
black
now,
women.
let's just say-
They had
let's
some
say
black
it
women
like it
though.
was.
But hold on,
You know?
they had some black women. But the point was that a lot of women
Some.
wanted to be in Playboy just because they knew that they would never ever otherwise get a chance to get photographed by
Be
these
exposed.
really high-end photographers.
And then you look at it, if you were in a Playboy magazine as a celebrity, you know, female, then it didn't have the stigma, you know, as if you were doing other magazines. Go ahead,
Well,
Professor.
celebrities didn't do other magazines; they only did Playboy.
Well,
for the most part.
listen, guys. As a matter of fact, I was babysitted by a Playboy bunny.
Wow.
What?
Wow.
You all remember Marcy in the first Shaft?
Absolutely not.
I kind of, but not by name.
Okay, well, Marcy, the character that played Marcy, her name was Sherry Brewer,
Okay,
Okay.
hold on.
and she
Harry Brewer.
she
Look that up.
was a Playboy bunny.
Okay.
She was a Playboy bunny, and she lived right around the corner from me, and was my sister's best friend.
Wow.
And so when my sister, my mother made me, my mother made my sister take me everywhere, right? So I would get dropped off at Sherry's.
Oh, dang. I feel so bad for you. Don't you, Ron? Don't you, Chris? Buggy, they
Oh,
just dropped
yeah.
him off over there.
drop
Damn.
Drop that baby off over there. Just drop that baby off over there.
Over
Give that
Dang.
Playboy model.
Oh, that Playboy model.
Look, you
My
got,
boy
you
might-
got two
might
people
show some
looking the girl
bosom.
name up right now, Marcy.
Damn right.
You're right. That's right. I'm trying to find her butt right now.
Everybody going
Everybody
to the
do a
devices.
shit.
Look, you
Her
hear
name
what Mike
was
said? I'm trying to find her butt
Her
right
name
now.
was Sherry.
Sherry
Her name
Brewer.
was Sherry Peaches Brewer, born in
right.
Chicago, Illinois.
That's
Played
right.
Not the nickname,
Marcy
too.
Jonas, Bumpy's daughter.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's funny.
Okay. Yeah, I looked it up. You damn right. That's what I do. I'm a journalist.
That's right. I do
Look
research.
that ass up.
you are.
And when I say I looked that ass up, I'm not being respectful. I was looking that ass up.
Oh, hell. Look, but let me
man.
say this about Bill Cosby, going back to him. And I was saying this to Reggie in the pregame. I don't like it when people try to erase somebody's legacy. Let's go back to the reason why of NBC, in particular, why he wanted to buy it. His first career send-off or takeoff was on the Tonight Show with Jack Parr in the
Absolutely.
mid-50s, when he did stand-up, and that's how he really took off from there. So, for example, as a comedian, when you went around to tour in the nation, as seen on the Jack Parr Tonight Show, and that's how you got your props. So from there, he goes on to do I Spy with Robert Culp on NBC, wins 3 Emmys, an award, for a role for his role on I Spy. Then you fast forward that into the 80s with the Cosby Show. So it was lights out of that. The man changed the game. As Mike alluded to earlier about Thursday nights, it was called must-see TV.
Yeah.
During that time. That's how they played it, and rightfully so. And then to be a game changer when people around you started to see growing pains and the rebirth of the family shows on other networks because of what Cosby was doing. Even prior to that, when he did a show on PBS called The Electric Company, back in the day in the 70s, when he was at Temple, that was his thesis, his master thesis for education for children. When he did that show, that led into Fat Albert. So again, exactly. So when you look at the path that Bill was on, when you're by yourself, nobody else can touch you.
Yeah.
And we'll get into this later. I want to talk about my topic about last words to loved ones. Sidney Poitier, the great actor, passed away, left us. I went back and watched Uptown Saturday Night. Yes, man.
Yeah, and let's do it again.
And the Piece of the Action.
Yes.
All those movies directed by Sidney Poitier, all those, his co-star was Bill Cosby. So I was saying to a professor in the pregame, I have not publicly heard anything about what Bill had said about Sidney's passing. You know he's torn up.
Oh,
and I don't, of course, I just never heard it because probably maybe he's been told because of his current situation not to do it. And as far as all these women who come forward who said they were raped, first of all, rape is a horrific situation, period. But rape kits were not invented till about 1979, 1980. You mean to tell me out of all these women, not one said, I don't give two damns who he is, I was raped, and then went to the authorities. That kind of, not one person, not one woman. That kind of bothers me a little bit because there's always one person that bucks the system. There's always one person, you know what? I'm going to go against the grain because I feel about A, B, and C. That always bothered me. When I always read about these women coming forward, and you notice over the time, it was 20, that was 30, that was 40. You know what broke my heart was a supermodel, Beverly Johnson. Went on The View.
Yeah.
And she did the Bill Cosby perp walk saying that she was, drugged by, right, some Mickey figure, whatever, Mickey figure in there and everything else. And then at the, see, I'm sorry this happened to you, Beverly. Anything you want to say? Yes, I'll be on the cover of the upcoming AARP magazine.
Right.
I mean, good night. I mean, if you could look at the timeline of the women who benefited from being in that conversation, and once again, it's always 15 minutes of fame. When people take that and abuse the system and abuse something like rape, that's what bothers me. And again, you're absolutely right, Mike.
It's changed.
Real quick, but real quick, you're right. In that culture, when he even had a Spanish fly routine that Bill Cosby talked about back in the day on one of his albums back in the day. So that culture was popular, but yet he's singled out of many men who did it. I'm sorry, Buck. Go ahead.
You have to give the success to Gloria Allred, who was the attorney in 33 of the cases, and to bring those women together collectively. See, that was it was a bigger case than just going up against Bill at that time, because now this is a movement for
Me Too
females.
movement. Right.
There you go. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So he just kind of got caught up in the Spanish flytrap, so to speak.
Nice.
Yeah. See how about
where is the rim shot?
Oh, dog, we didn't have a rim shot. Okay, that's okay. But anyway, the thing of it is, and I think that's what really pushed the agenda, because now on top of an Oprah show who was opening doors like this for this kind of conversation, because Donahue started it, but Oprah kind of really was the path of least resistance. No matter what race, creed, or color you were, that if you were bringing an issue to the table, if Oprah got her hands on it, the rest was history.
I love Donahue, though.
Say that again.
I love Donahue, though.
Yeah, Donahue was great. I mean, he opened the door for her. I mean, obviously, but once again, just like we see culture changes, and now the Donahue, it takes it from just being this quintessential, white man that's asking the questions, like he don't know any better. Hey, I was just thinking it. I don't know why that happened. And maybe you can explain to me. That was kind of his persona, and then he would give his 2 cents after that. Oprah comes in, and not only does she do the same, but she's opinionated as a journalist. Okay. Now she's bringing in all these perspectives, and the journalism is also working for the female movement, and it's a female who's leading it. You see the path that's happening here. But like you said, to one of my distinguished co-panelists, all this stuff was being done before. We know there's no way that Bill Cosby was the only one that was duping these women. Now, going back to the whole thing, Beverly Johnson said that she came over to do a read at Bill's house. Okay. Now, at some level, there must have been a level of trust that you felt comfortable enough to go to his home to do this read. You didn't bring a girlfriend. You didn't bring your man. You went over there kind of on your own, and what could the expectations be? I'm not saying that I'm not accusing her of anything, but sometimes these situations also have some bottom coverage to it. Go ahead, Professor.
No, I mean, wait a minute, Beverly Johnson. That's because I tuned out a lot of that stuff, right? Because
as did I.
I still haven't got past the fact that why does a gozillionaire have to rape anybody?
Everybody asks that question. It's like, he's Bill Cosby. He ain't got to rape nobody.
Just give him some money. Just give
saying.
him a French girl. I mean, I still ain't got past that, and if you're gonna be that powerful, and I just don't get that.
You just hit on something. Let's walk through this process.
Go ahead, lay it out for me.
How many of these women were African American?
Where are the crickets? Come on. If I had some crickets, I'd play them right now.
There you go. Little baby cricket. Yeah, come on over here today.
One cricket.
The thing of it is, see, you see where he was going with this? He wasn't there was a plot, and the plot thickened as it was happening, because when all these women showed up on Oprah's show or whatever show they were showing up on, I was looking at it, and a lot of these women, okay, this stuff was dated. I was looking at some of these women, and I'm going, really, Bill? I mean, 90% of these women would have never been ever put in Playboy. Thank you.
And I said that earlier. Things that happened in the 60s and the 70s, they all got in line on that lynch mob, and they tried him in the public opinion of a movement in the 2000s. Okay, so they took Harvey Weinstein. They went all the way back to the first, time he came out the shower with no clothes on, talking about, you want this movie or not? Well,
everybody said that Weinstein was a son of a bitch, though. It's not like that wasn't even a secret.
But I'm saying in the casting couch at that time,
which was started by Joseph Kennedy,
was a socially acceptable move in the industry.
Right.
Okay. Yes, it was, and it was some that rebelled against it, and there were some that went along with it. Okay. But then you take that ideology and you put it in court under a movement in 2000. That's how you get convicted in the public opinion.
Absolutely.
Well, that's all they wanted to do. That's all they wanted to do, because they trying to put black paint on this man's legacy. So it can't.
Well, and think about this. What about a paycheck?
What, for the women?
Yes.
Of course.
Yeah, they got paid. They got paid. It wasn't.
Yeah,
not
that
one
was
of
probably
them that did not get paid, and
that was
one of
probably the
big
biggest
things.
motivation right there.
Well, no,
it has
and
to
that
be
was-
because sorry, it has to be because you got to come out all of a sudden. Most of those women, everything that I'm saying is an assumption. These women were probably married. You got to come out and tell George that you were duped by Bill, and the only way George is going to accept it is, well, honey, I know you're upset and everything. I just didn't want to say anything, but it looks like we'll probably get, Gloria's saying we're going to get like $150,000.
And they all.
Oh yeah, if
signed
Bill were
agreements.
broke, none of that would have ever happened. None of it would have happened.
Oh, thank you.
All of them signed agreements saying that they were satisfied with the financial
With the judgment
payment that they got, and then all of a sudden you got 50 people standing there talking about, well, I ain't satisfied no more.
But you know what? This is why rich people sleep with prostitutes. They pay them so they don't ever have to worry about this bullshit stuff. Just saying, not that it's a good idea, but
I mean,
I can understand.
That's my whole. That's been the whole thing. I wanted to say in the first place. I mean,
It's so much cheaper. It's so much cheaper.
Yeah.
How much could a prostitute be? I mean, even a high-end hooker. I mean, what, 20,000 maybe? That would have saved him so much money. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, because they got.
Oh man, you started looking at you.
Everybody's looking at Ron. Hey, Ron. How much
I deliberately did not say anything. Okay.
How much you
I got busted. Damn, I'm sorry.
Go check your credit card statement, Ron.
Hey, look, man. Look, I am not gonna pay for it and interest too. Okay.
Now,
Ron's like, let me see if I can remember.
So please just leave the legacy alone.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He's earned everything that he has. Nobody gave him nothing.
Great topic.
And he has helped more people than he has hurt.
Great topic.
He has helped more people than he has hurt.
Great topic.
And I think one of the most hypocritical things that I was hearing, is that the HBCUs, right, where him and Camille was dropping big money, wanted to disassociate themselves with his name. Of course. Now, but I understood that because most of the HBCUs were started by white folks.
Yeah. Through land grants.
That's right.
Yeah. They gave them you give them the land, you get the tax break, and then you've done something good in your life.
I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Great topic.
Yeah.
And you know when I say great topic, it means, hey, time for the next one.
Oh, we just thought the needle was stuck on the record.
Yeah, you know what? If I didn't know any better, I thought I was moderating. You know, I thought I was too. But here's Buck.
Just trying to help
come out of nowhere.
Just trying to help out.
Why are you shrinking into your shoulders now?
He come out of nowhere. He's talkative. He's evolved. He has a topic. I mean, I don't know what to do with myself, Doctor.
Jack, because of my boy Jack.
You want throwing Jack?
Jack is back.
That's right. Exactly. Don't forget, you need to talk directly into that microphone, Chris.
I didn't want to go into all that. See, now you go bring.
What are you talking about, Mike?
That's all right. No,
shut up. You know exactly what you told Chris to talk directly into that RE20 microphone.
Oh, you talking about like before the show started?
Yeah, before the show started. Yes.
Okay. Why you keep buying? He buys airtime. Like he really understood what oh, you mean like before the show started?
Yeah, because nobody heard that shit, Mike. It's an inside joke. Okay.
All right.
You know better.
No, sorry. You know better.
I like when they fight. Because they go back. Because obviously, the back and forth that they have, I appreciate it.
He's not going to win. So that he knows that's the end result.
You know better. Come on. All right.
So that's why you keep telling him, let's move on to the next topic.
Yeah, great topic. Yeah, I heard that. Yeah,
great
good answer. Yeah, good answer.
He gonna try to get behind me and sweep his little mess under the rug. There you go. Right. There you go, Professor. You busted, dog. You busted. Don't try to bull me in. I got your back, but you got busted.
Thank you. Exactly.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
Of course not.
Yeah, you
Sure.
sure did.
Sure.
Neither did Bill Cosby.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I can smell it from here, Buck.
Boom.
All right. So we talked about earlier in the conversation about celebrity deaths, and we've seen a lot of the news. Buck, you mentioned about Bob Saget passed away. You know, also a person was called America's Dad. Sidney Poitier, Betty White. I go on and on. James Mtume from the group Mtume, he passed away. Which, coming from a musical family, broke my heart because his father was Jimmy Heath, the saxophonist. So, and he passed away in 2020. So, I was sitting back, lamenting of all these great people we lost. So I went back and watched Lilies of the Field, was of course the Poitier film that he got the best Oscar for in 1963, and then
the nuns was thinking about him too.
Oh man, I build a chapel, you build a chapel, right? So that whole dynamic and playing Homer Smith, the dignity that Poitier had can never be matched. He just was in a class by himself, and even in the heat of the night, 1967, the bitch slap,
Mr. Tips.
the bitch. But see, just the fact that he would tell, Rod Steiger, well, what they call you there in Philadelphia? They call me Mr. Tibbs. The delivery and just the sheer swag and the powerfulness that he had, and the slap that heard around the world is, of course, the slap he had for the white sharecropper.
Yeah.
Norman Jewison, who was the director, originally was not supposed to slap him back. He was supposed to get slapped, but in the moment when he did the scene, Sidney Poitier slapped him back,
and they let
it ride. He was like, "Okay, why are we gonna leave it in there? Why you slap him back?" Because Virgil Tibbs is a detective from the north, from Philadelphia. You ain't gonna let nobody slap him in the face,
Right.
Exactly.
And and that became so iconic. I remember people telling me that when they saw it in real time, they stood up in the movie theater, started to applaud. They didn't see anything like that in movies, period.
Right, back
so
then,
the fact that he was able to change the game, the whole thing with Uptown Saturday Night, probably hands down one of the best cast I have ever seen. One of my favorite scenes is Roscoe Lee Brown as Congressman Lincoln. When he has Bill and Sidney come in, it was like the secretary was like, "No, they seem like common folk. Oh, constituents." And so he has to come in. He changed his shirt. He changed his suit jacket to the dashiki. He turns the portrait of Nixon to Malcolm X, and he has to come in.
He
brothers. And that was directed by Sidney Poitier. The whole body of work that Sidney Poitier did, the fact that he was able to pull it off shows you his mastery in the whole thing. Now, hold on. Before I go any further, I want to say here is our fearless leader right now, Lee Michaels' hand.
All
okay,
right.
Hey, what's up, man? What's up, Lee?
y'all? Can
You driving
okay?
a truck? Oh, I thought he was driving a truck. I was like,
Oh,
get out
man.
of here.
Get out of that truck.
I'm in my car.
Yo,
Okay.
fearless leader, I did a topic tonight.
Oh my goodness. Where's the drum roll? Where's the horns? How you guys
crazy.
doing?
We're doing great. How you doing?
Good.
So, Lee, let
I'm
me
doing
ask you
all
a
right.
question. Lee,
Yes,
let me
sir.
ask you a question. So, which Sidney Poitier movie was this one when he said, "Dad, you've got to get off of my back, man"?
I'm not that damn old.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
You know what? I remember To Serve with Love and Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
It was Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
Right.
Yeah.
And his dad, they had broken away. They went over to the girl's house. And so his father, was trying to take this opportunity, going, "Son, now you know how racially this country is, and you trying to date this woman." And I mean, he flipped on him. And I mean that was a legendary. I mean, talking back to a parent in that time and place.
Yeah.
Then the other one was, remember, what was the other one when they were moving to the white neighborhood? What movie was that?
A Raisin in the Sun.
A Raisin in the Sun.
Right.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
Yep.
And they're getting ready to go, and he bet his money. He was trying to get more money for his family, and the guy ran off with the money, and they came back and told him, and he was begging. His mom was upset.
Yes.
and he was crying. Oh my God, man!
Yeah.
Everybody, I remember watching that movie. My mama was crying. My grandmama was crying. Everybody was crying.
And the unique
Everybody.
thing about, oh man, that scene, first of all, they were able to bring back the stage actors to the movie.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And Sidney Poitier was the second person to play Walter Lee Younger. The
Yes.
first person to play it
Walter
on
Lee.
stage was Earl Hines. Earl Hines played the grandfather on The Cosby Show.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yes.
Walter Lee, your daddy had been saving that money up. He worked all his life.
Oh,
Boy,
man.
oh my God. That scene was off the chain.
If you don't know how to cry, watch that scene. You'll cry your ass
That's
off.
right, boy. You'll
Yeah.
cry. You cry
Yeah,
right
absolutely.
there, Jack.
I never
Man, I'm
cry.
telling you.
I never cry for movies.
That-
Never.
You're too cool, baby.
Never.
Too cool.
Yeah.
No. Stone cold heart.
Yeah.
No tears.
Sure.
over there.
that's that Lee Baby Michaels
That's
for you,
that Lee
Doctor.
baby in there. Yeah. It's only on
Dog,
film when he
man.
tells that story.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
No, I got a soft heart. But yeah, I mean, so what have we been talking about? I just tuned in here shortly, so I hate coming in the middle of a show. And
We know
that's
what.
why a
Let
lot of
Buck
times I don't.
let Buck talk about it, because Buck told everybody he has the good topics.
Yep.
And so Buck, give the fearless leader a review.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Buck.
You know, hey, one of the things we were talking about was Bill Cosby, and it seemed like that was a very kind of a sensitive subject, because the professor said he didn't think Bill Cosby did none of that, so it was kind of like yeah, and how they wanted to throw black paint on his legacy, and so that was a good topic. That was the one.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people felt that he was railroaded and all of that. But I think there was probably some things that he did, the things that he admitted to, and not to make any excuses. In my opinion, that was the way things were done back in the day.
That's what we all said.
And that's
And,
what we all
and
said.
I'm not saying it was acceptable,
Uh-huh.
but it was acceptable.
Uh-huh.
It happened. The casting couch was alive and doing well back in the day. And I don't think he was one of the bad guys, because the real bad guys either already dead or they had enough money to buy people off, and Bill, got caught. It was low-hanging fruit.
Hey, Lee, did you ever interview Bill Cosby?
I met him, but I never got a chance to interview him.
Interview him.
No.
Yeah. I had a general manager who interviewed him one time when she was on the air. She said he was one of the toughest interviews ever, because he just looked at her every single time she asked a question and looked at her like, really? Why don't you go ahead and ask me something ain't nobody else asked me? She's like, he was so arrogant. It was
Wow.
really hard to swallow. Yeah.
My toughest interview of all time.
And that was at
Prince.
KDIA, by the way, a big station back then.
Right.
He was like, "Yeah, I'm Bill Cosby." I'm sorry, what were you saying?
My toughest interview was Prince, when he first came out on his first single, "Soft and Wet."
Wow.
I interviewed him at WGIV in Charlotte in a gymnasium at a high school, and
Why
it
was it
was
so
like
tough?
pulling teeth, because he would only
Oh.
say yes or no to whatever question I asked, or he would shrug his shoulders up like, I don't know. And we're not on TV,
Yeah.
Right.
It's a radio interview.
Right.
So
Although,
that
you know
was-
what?
that was a tough one.
That happens to me with video a lot, and what I've learned over the years of doing video interviews is that you can't ask them any question that can be answered with a yes or no. You have to start with a word like "describe for me" or "explain what happened." So, you know what I mean? Something that can't be answered with a yes or no answer, and that forces them to actually give you something a little bit more than just yes or no.
Well, I did all of that, and he just still would not answer. Would not go. And then I went to a break. I went to a commercial break. I said, "Dude, you got to help work with me here. We're doing an interview, and you got to give me more than a yes or no, or maybe, or I don't know." He said, "Man, I'm just fucking with you." I said, "Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that." Now, this is your debut on your maiden voyage, your first promotional tour. People want to hear more than a simple answer. Okay, man. Okay, cool.
He
go back
said
on
that?
and did the same. Yeah. It's a true story. He went back on the air and he did the same shit again. I went, okay. You got me. Yeah.
Wow. You think it was because it was in front of an audience?
No, because at that time he was very shy and introverted and really didn't know how to do it.
Right.
Warner Brothers really had not prepared him well enough to go out on the road. And even when I ran across him years later, he was still kind of inward. But once you got to know him, then he was the class clown. He was very, outspoken. And the last time I saw him was up at his studio in Minneapolis. He gave us, I had a little record label for a brief moment, and he allowed me to bring an artist in there and finish the recording that we were working on, and put us in his main studio with his top engineer, and for nothing, for free.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's
cool.
He
had a kind heart. He was a good person.
That's cool. Very cool.
So
that's right.
But I would imagine Bill being kind of difficult at times.
Yeah, and then Ron's topic was having to do with Mayor Lightfoot in Chicago and how she was bullying the teachers union, and that wasn't going anywhere. So we moved on.
Yeah, I've been.
I'm kidding, Ron. I'm kidding.
I've been watching.
And that's his professional opinion, right?
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I've been watching that thing from a distance, and I think it's real simple what's going on. Everybody wants to get back to normal. And as my dad used to say to me, son, don't rush to fail. But they feel like they have to press and push us back to some kind of normalcy because the economy is about to tank and everybody is panicking. But you're messing with children. Don't put children in the political game. Don't do that. It's wrong. That's our future. Fix the damn schools, make them as safe as possible at whatever cost. Get that done. Then the kids can go back to school. The teachers will be safer. The kids will be safer. It'll be a safer environment. But parents,
I think a lot of parents don't want their kids. They don't want their kids to stay home. They want their kids to get to school.
Because they're selfish. Because
get out of the house, right?
It's tough for them. They want to go back to work. They want to get back to their normal life. And they're saying, put these kids back in school. I get it. Right. I know it's tough for everybody. Hell, it's tough for me. Okay? I'm trying to run a business. I'm trying to make money. And guess what? Ain't nobody traveling right now.
Right.
The travel level is probably 50% off. And it's always soft in January anyway. So it's hell out here in the transportation business, unless you're hauling boxes on big 18-wheel trucks.
And even then, they're having a hard time keeping drivers for trucks too.
Yeah, that's true.
Everything.
Yeah, the Department of Transportation took there was 60 or 80,000 drivers off the road because they couldn't pass a drug test.
All the trucks, if you see them on the highway, all have hiring information on the back.
That's right.
Looking for drivers.
And they make pretty good money too. They make
Dr.
75, 80 grand.
Or more. Dr. Ron, it's time for you to get back in that truck, man.
Not gonna happen.
You used to drive a truck, Ron?
Yes, sir.
I did not know that.
It's a whole
so that's
lot
how you got so many kids.
That's
why you got so many kids.
It's a whole lot of stuff you don't know, but just keep living. Keep living. You'll learn as you get older, okay?
Apparently.
Yeah, and I got to applaud Buck for a change because he actually was paying attention. He was able to regurgitate some of that stuff back to Lee.
It ain't gonna last long. It's not gonna last long. It's just it's a one night appearance.
Yeah, he's having a unique day today. I give him credit.
I give him credit, but it ain't gonna happen next Thursday.
Look, and he hadn't been, doing his libations either. So
of course he has.
Be pretty good.
Yeah, obviously it was before because he came into the back room on fire.
Oh, I missed that part.
He's been on fire all night. I had to give it to him. He's
fired up, lit, and ready to go.
Oh, he's fired up, lit, and ready to go. He's hot today.
Yeah, man. So I was saying, getting to my topic, I was talking about Sidney Poitier and these recent celebrity deaths and what they mean to people. So I turned it inward to my own self with my father. And, I miss my dad. That's stating the obvious. But I realized that when I got into radio, my muse was my father. Now, to tell the backstory real quick, my dad and I, last time we had a conversation, take that back, it was an argument on Father's Day night. It was the one only time. Say what?
It was a conversation.
No, not in my household, doctor. No, that was not a conversation. That was yelling. That was yelling and inventing some new cuss words. I remember that evening. So it was the only time I spent Father's Day alongside my dad. My oldest, Brianna, was 6 months old. And for some reason, he was giving me the cold shoulder. He didn't speak to me. He didn't say anything to me the whole day. And later on that night, he's on the porch. I'm like, Dad, what the hell? And we got into this big argument. I can't even tell you how it exploded. We got into this argument. And I left home. I moved in with my grandfather. I get a call from my sister, Tiffany, about Wednesday or Thursday. Mind you, that was on the Sunday night. That Wednesday or Thursday, I get a call from my sister saying, Daddy is not breathing. Come home. And I came home, and my father, unfortunately, passed away. Now, what happened was when the next month, literally, this was in June. In July, I got hired at WBEE playing jazz and blues music. My dad played jazz and blues music throughout the household of me growing up.
Oh, wow.
That's not a coincidence. That's God. So when I came in at 22 years old, and back in the day, we had the records, and it was still old station, but it was my first. I didn't care. The turntables. They just installed 2 CDs. This is like the early 90s, mind you.
What? CDs? Cool.
CDs, that's right. It had 2 CD players. Everything else was slide pod.
Compact discs.
Yeah, thank you. That's right. Exactly. So I'm there, and we had to pick our own music. I was on from 6 to midnight. And I would come in 2 hours early to play pick our own stuff. And because of my dad, I was able to know who I had to pick. And because of listening to all those people, all those years, and Chris come and turn this volume up, and Chris turned this record over, and Chris everything else, it was preparing me for that position. And when we think about it,
wow,
my dad was a no nonsense.
That's a great
person.
story.
Oh man, it touches me because everything is done for a reason, as we all know, and so. This is how much he embraced me when I got on the radio. So by this time, I'm in high school. Dad, I'm going to have radio as a major. Oh, that's my boy. He gave me a hug and everything else. Then, he embraced me and everything else. And my dad's voice was deeper than mine. So really, no, it felt if your one ball would drop in his presence because it was just that low. So I remember he was telling me, you remind me of Sid McCoy. I didn't know who Sid McCoy was. Who's Sid McCoy? So when I was coming up here in Chicago, we listened to all these various radio personalities. Sid McCoy had a voice like yours, very melodic, very nice, smooth, and everything else. And you remind me of him, so you're gonna be all right. So I'm watching Soul Train, and my dad walks past. That's him. That's Sid McCoy. Yeah. So Sid McCoy, as people may not know or may know, was the announcer for Soul Train all those years. Mm-hmm. So I knew exactly who Sid McCoy was as soon as my dad said that's the person I was talking about. The Soul Train Scrabble board is brought to you by Africa. I heard it all my life. So
didn't know it.
It didn't know it. It didn't know it. So,
but who's the guy that used to go Soul Train?
Go Cop.
That's right.
There you go. Mm-hmm.
And it's Chicago air personality.
And it's that type of impartment that my dad had. I realized that when I got into talk radio. The stories, because as a talk show host, you have to be a good storyteller. That's the first thing I was told when I got into business. So I listened to everybody else do their thing. And what made them great was they had their own stories to tell. That's what makes it unique. Everyone in this panel has stories to tell, and the way you say it, the way you're effective for people to listen is how you tell said story. So I just go back to my times with Dad, and in a roundabout way, I was using him as my muse, my inspiration. Whether it was music, especially going to talk, it was because of my dad. So if I can go back in time and have that conversation with my dad, first of all, I would not get into an argument with him. Because we just like to argue in our family. So that's what it was. But I would not argue with him. I would just tell him, Dad, I love you.
Amen. Amen.
That's all I gotta say. So
amen.
That's why I'm gonna bring to the panel. If you feel that way, because again, we always have the ability of what if in our lives. We want that what if. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lee.
It's pretty typical for dads and sons to have that tiff. I've got 2 boys, and we fight from time to time. Right now, neither one of them are talking to me because they're both jackasses. But I still love them. I still love them. You know,
yeah, they can be there sometimes. Talking about even mine. You know,
right. That's right. So if you're a dad out there and you got a boy and it's like the Lion King. They want to be the king of the house, and they don't live there no more.
Yeah, they want to be the king of everything.
Everything.
You don't know nothing. Okay.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but that's something that I've learned to deal with, and I give them their space, and I make them show me some respect.
Yeah,
that's all.
You have to.
I respected my dad, my mom, my grandmother. I never knew my mother's dad because he died before I think he died the year I was born, 1950. So I didn't know my grandfather on my dad's side or my mother's side. So I didn't have that figure, but I had uncles and neighbors that were my role models, after my dad died. So, we all have a unique story to tell as it relates to our background, how we were raised, where we were raised, and the influences that we had. Some of my strongest influence were some of my neighbors that I grew up around.
Yeah, the village.
Because, back in those days, that was a part of your environment, and you didn't get away with nothing.
Well, Chris was saying that if we had somebody that we could go back and have one last conversation with, what would we say and that sort of thing. But you know what? I'm a strong believer in the fact that when people die, they're not dead. They just cross over to the spiritual realm, and they can hear when we're talking about them. So it's kind of like, so knowing that they're not really gone, to me, I don't really have anybody that I would say anything to, because I know that they can hear me now, and they know how I feel because I've talked about them enough after they're gone and said good things about them. So it's kind of like, That's just me, though.
I feel I've been in that space, and not that I'm not in that space now, but there are times in your life when you're closer to that feeling. And it's usually right after someone significant passes away. Mm-hmm. When your dad died, or your mom, or your grandmother, aunts, uncles, and what have you, a sister, and those moments and those times in your life, I think you're drawn to that because you miss them. Mm-hmm. And you want to stay connected, and you want to believe that you're still connected. And I believe that. There's no question. I've had conversations, out loud, talking to my mom and my grandmother. We called her Big Mama. Mm-hmm. And I feel like they've been looking out for me because, hey, I've been through some tough shit. And I feel like there's somebody up there saying, I got you, boy. Don't worry. Mm-hmm. Do this. Go over there. Don't do that. I hear their voices. So I believe, and maybe that's just that they said certain things, did certain things when they were alive that we have not forgotten. And those voices are echoing. It could be something as simple as that.
I'll share this story, and I know we got to move on to, I'm going to cut you off, leading, and I know Buck want to get his and Mike's topic, but I just thought about the time. So I'm 15 years old. We're outside cutting the grass, and in this summertime, it's like 125 in the shade, let alone outside.
That's Africa hot right there.
It's all types of
Nigerian hot.
I'm talking about hot. It's like, oh my God. So as soon, and then my dad and I try to get all this stuff done before noon, because when the sun comes up and everything else more so than before noon. So we're cutting the grass. Now let me say this before I move any further in the story. I'm 15 years old. I blame heat stroke. Now let me finish the story. So I go up to my dad. Dad, I told you for a second. All right, because see, back in the day, call you boy. All right, boy, what you want? Is it okay for you to go to Walgreens and get some rubbers for me? Because I can't get them. He turned around. What did you say, boy? Yeah. Could you go to Walgreens and give me some, I figured I clean up, prophylactics so I can have intercourse? Prophylactics? Rib for her pleasure. Yes, sir. That's right. That's right.
At 15,
Extra
you were
large.
saying this.
At 15
Extra
years old.
large.
Right, 15, right. Now, mind you, heat stroke. He's looking me dead in my eye. Boy, I ain't fucking. So why can't I help you?
That's a good one.
With the sweetest face of all time.
You shut that down.
Yeah, and
Shut that down.
That's funny.
Completely.
That's
Completely.
funny.
I woke up from the heat stroke.
That's
He said, "You better go back over there and cut the grass." And I
Yeah,
went
you
over
shut
there.
that down.
Yeah, he saved my life that day because
Lord.
I never made one 16. I never made 16 if I kept on talking. But see, that's what I mean by when you gleam on that type of situation where you tell it back, as Buck just said, they're still alive. They're still around you. I can see that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They're definitely out there. No doubt.
Yeah, man.
So when did you get the prophylactics?
Buck, it's time for your topic, Buck.
He's still
Okay.
waiting.
Okay. So here's the thing. It's Martin Luther King Jr. birthday on Monday, right? And and I've had this conversation with plenty of people. So if you've had this conversation, then I'm sure you have some sort of opinion on it. But his whole idea, obviously, is a different time back then, and I wasn't alive. All the civil rights movement, all of it happened before I was born. So I don't know what it was like before the civil rights movement because I've benefited from it. But the whole idea was so we could go live, and black people could go live where we could get out of the hood where our own people were, and go live where the white folks were. And what did that do to the community behind? So our best and brightest and most successful moved away. So what happened to the hood? Like, where are all the role models? Like all the role models moved away. It was, I don't know, maybe it wasn't that well thought out. But I mean, if you look at the end result, look what it did to the black community. It's like, was that really the best thing? It's like, I think that, just my personal opinion, again, maybe just being a young and ignorant, it seems like integration hurt us more than it helped us. Because back then, from what I understand, a lot of black communities were doing very well financially. People had jobs. The money stayed within the community. And like that area in Tulsa that was, what do they call it? Black Wall Street. Right. They were thriving. Harlem was thriving. There were a lot of community, Atlanta, the whole Edgewood, Auburn Avenue area, thriving. So it wasn't really a good thing that we took all of our best and brightest and just fled and went out to where the white folks, where they didn't want us there anyway.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Would you be okay if you was only stuck in Oakland, California?
Yes, I would.
Okay. Well, let me say this.
Because it's a great city.
And when I say that, I'm not talking about Oakland being a great city. I'm talking about just being in the black neighborhood. One of the things it's funny you said that because my grandmother was very upset when integration started to come in because, you had black funeral homes, black banks, the florists, the barbers, everybody. I mean, right. It was a community, but we depended on community. They depended on community for a totally different reason than we depend on community. Community was a safety zone for them because anytime they got outside of that community, they were going to be harmed some kind of way with no defense. And I disagree with the fact that we should have stayed that way because I'm glad that we've grown. I'm glad that we're able to go wherever we needed that growth. But there was no way for them to have that vision when you've been beaten into submission to believe that, you're black and you don't go here and you don't do this and you don't do this. Now, going back to the good side of what you said, they made the best of it. People got rich. but at the same time, the growth was stagnated.
But over time, don't you think that over time that the communities would have grown and that times would have changed regardless of the civil rights movement?
How would it grow and change if you only have a black community? No way.
No.
You need to be. We see. Once again, that's okay. It's like Chinatown. Okay, you go to different places in every major city, San Francisco, Chicago, everybody's got a Chinatown. But it doesn't mean that you can't be somewhere else. For segregation, for us, we were stuck in those areas.
Well, it used to be the same with Chinatowns too.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. They had to grow, and that's what has to happen. I would never think that something was bad about growth. Integration needed to happen because you don't ever want to think that, if you could have stayed there, boy, we really could have been powerful.
But at what cost though, Mike? What cost did that growth come?
That cost was well worth it because that cost was able. It put us in a situation for us to grow and have what anyone else human had. We were, as you grow, being judged by your race, creed, or color was starting to fade away. It's not to say that people don't judge you that way, but they don't have as large an audience when that's happening.
So you're saying attitudes towards race would have never changed?
Well, why would it change?
I don't think it had anything. I don't think it had. It had something to do with race, as I remember. But more importantly, it had a lot to do with people wanted to have a nicer environment. And the neighborhoods that we had at that time were starting to deteriorate. And the cities weren't putting, because there was
it was a black neighborhood. And you don't do nothing for the black neighborhood.
Right. The city wasn't allocating funds to fix the streets and things were just deteriorating. So just like the TV show The Jeffersons, moving on up to the east side.
Yeah.
Okay. That was it. People began to make more money. The doctors and the lawyers and the people working the government jobs and what have you. They wanted to have a better environment, a nicer environment, a safer environment for their family.
So why not? So why not then take the money that is in that black community and fix up your own community? Just ask it.
Well,
because this is a real, this is a real, but this is a real shoulda, coulda, woulda conversation.
No, I think you're mixing it up.
Yeah, he is.
The idea of doing that is not a bad idea, but there wasn't enough money, even from the people who were doing well, to do that. I mean, the house that I grew up in Lindenwood, Norfolk, was a section. It was a middle class black neighborhood on my street, West Avenue in Norfolk, Virginia. There was a store owner, a grocery store owner. There was a man that worked for the railroad. There were postal workers. A man that owned his own hair beauty salon, a doctor, school principal. Right behind me on the street behind us was a junior high school principal. The high school that I went to, Jaycox, Mr. Chessons lived right behind me. The doctor was the doctor that we went to. In fact, he came to us. He would do house calls. When I got the flu or the tonsillitis or whatever, he came to the house and gave me a shot of penicillin or whatever.
So why is all this bad? Why is all that bad?
It wasn't bad, but they wanted to do better. So Dr. Douglas moved to another more prominent neighborhood. The old man, his daddy, it was a mixed neighborhood that he moved to. It was predominantly black, but it was a little more upscale. A new development that he moved into. His dad stayed there until he passed away. He was the school principal at Booker T. Washington. There was one black high school in Norfolk that if you were black, that's where you went to until they integrated the schools in 1968. So that's the way it was. That was the environment that I grew up in Virginia. Now, was it all bad? No. But if you go back to that neighborhood today, the house that I grew up in has been remodeled. And I mean, the outside still looks, very similar. They spruced it up and stuff. But the neighborhood is not the same.
Lee, that house would be 100 years old.
It is. I think it was built in 1906.
Yeah, we see the church finger reel up coming up. Dr. Ron, go ahead with the church finger, sir.
Yeah. I got.
Tell me why I'm wrong, Ron. Go ahead.
No, I got to lay a foundation of understanding for you. Without the forefathers like Martin Luther King, you would not be able to do anything that you are able to do today. You would not be able to work in the radio stations or the TV stations.
They had black stations back then. They had black stations back then.
Let me finish.
That's what all you want to do, work at black stations?
That's what I worked at most of my career.
That's your fault.
Let me finish.
True.
Okay. So with the evolution of the civil rights movement, we were able to go to the bathroom and not have to go to segregated bathrooms.
Or go to the back of the bus.
When I grew up, we all went to the back of the bus anyway. And this was when I was a kid. This was way past the civil rights movement.
You're missing the point. You had that privilege whether you wanted to or not. You don't have to. Okay?
But we wanted to be around our own people.
Are you missing this point on purpose?
I'm just saying. It's
an honest question. Are you missing this point on purpose?
I'm saying that I think the point is kind of pointless.
Okay.
No, your point is pointless.
Yeah.
But there are people.
Yeah, that Jack Daniels, boy.
Yeah, that Jack that kicked in, dog.
I'm not even feeling it either. I want to go get some more.
You need to go get some more.
That have
died. Don't get no more.
There are people that have
treating like a bad girlfriend. Leave it alone.
Buck, stop while you're ahead. Stop while you're ahead.
There are people that have died for you to have the privileges that you have now.
Right.
Okay? To go live around white folks.
To go live anywhere.
Wherever you want to. It ain't got nothing to do with living around white folks.
Don't you realize that you would be down south picking cotton some damn where? Now you're going to make me get
I'm not saying go back to slavery, nigga. What are you talking about?
No, we're not talking about you would not ever rise up out of slavery.
Right.
Without the people that have died, that have not given their life in order for us to be treated like human beings. We were not treated like human beings.
You want to be able to walk on this planet, Buck.
And you don't think that would have changed?
Buck, listen, man. Listen, I don't know if you're just trying to stir the pot or whatever the case may be.
Without making it change, dog.
Exactly.
Yeah, Buck, come on now. Now, it's okay to play around, but seriously, growth is everything. And the thing of it is, when we have people stagnating black growth, your point is obvious. And it's like Lee said, if you can go back and you can do something for your community or whatever the case may be, that's excellent. I wish I could do the same thing. And I'll give you a prime example. East St. Louis, Illinois. Whenever you see the fireworks under the Gateway Arch, they're taken from the east side. That land right there should definitely have a landing with bars and restaurants and the whole 9 yards because it's facing the Gateway Arch. But this city,
that would be ideal.
It would be ideal, but this city is got housing projects and all kind of things that are going on in it that, it's a black city, but it doesn't grow because it doesn't get any help. See, the whole thing of Dr. Ron talking about segregation and what Martin Luther King and them were doing and what the message was is that we have to have the freedom to walk on this planet anywhere we want without harm.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that you're saying is absolutely correct. But what you're saying says we can't leave West Avenue. And that's not right. And that's what had to be broken. What you're saying is absolutely correct. We should be able to go back to prominent areas and say, hey, this is great. This is where I lived.
So, okay, so now the best and brightest have moved away from the hood.
The best and brightest going to do that any damn way.
Where does that leave the rest of the people?
Well,
it doesn't leave them anywhere. Go ahead.
It leaves them in the hood with no role models for young people.
But that's up to them.
Right. That's an individual preference.
Exactly. And if they want to
is that what it is?
If you don't think so, then maybe you need to check yourself.
Well, let me ask you this, Buck. Where do you live?
In the hood.
Okay.
In a fucking turtle shell. That's where that motherfucker lives.
I live in the hood.
You live in the hood by choice.
By choice, yes.
Okay.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
So it's the same thing when the postal worker works for the post office or the doctor, and he builds up his practice and he can afford to do better. And he wants to have a nicer home for his kids and his wife. He wants a backyard so he can have a dog and maybe a pool. What's wrong with that?
Listen, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that.
But that's why it happened.
When I was in Birmingham, the mayor at the time lived in this really nice subdivision, but the subdivision was in the hood. Really nice, $400,000 or $500,000 houses, but it was right across from this old cemetery, and I mean it was the hood, but it was just a nice subdivision within the hood. And I was like, wow, the mayor lives.
It wasn't always that way.
No, they built it. I mean, it was built, to have these big homes. I mean, it wasn't the subdivision wasn't that old. My point being, though, is that it was still a hood, but it was a nice part of the hood. Here in Atlanta, there's an area not far from where I live, even though it's still technically the hood because it's the west side. It's called Cascade. Cascade Road has all this old money that is still technically the hood, but there's a lot of very well-to-do black people who live over there. And it's all black. Ain't no white folks over there. So I'm saying that you can still, you can still be in the hood. You ain't got to go to where the white folks live in order to have a nice place. Now, school's a different story. Now, I'll concede on the whole school thing because that whole separate but equal stuff was stupid.
You cleaned it up and then jumped right back in the toilet. How do you do that? You sat there and cleaned it up.
But that's what.
Okay, he got it.
See, that's why a lot of black folks send their kids to private schools because the public schools weren't anything to brag about. So and I don't. But here's the interesting thing. How do you change anything in a democracy? What do? You get out and vote. I bet you we wouldn't have the same problem we have with voting now if the civil rights movement hadn't happened and we are still fighting for everything we get. I'm just saying. And again, it's a coulda, shoulda, woulda. Who really knows? But these are just my thoughts. Professor.
Great. Two things. And so I'm not gonna get in on what your thoughts are about that. So I'm gonna leave that there. Check out the 10 demands that Bayard Rustin made on the March on Washington. Look at that list of 10 demands. Do that. That's the first thing. When you look at that'll let you know a few things that we may have moved a little bit, but we're still anchored to the point to where the motor has just been running and we've been going in a circle. Mm-hmm. And so we place a lot of emphasis on what Dr. Martin Luther King did. He was a great man.
Absolutely.
And his birthday is Saturday. It's not Monday.
Mhm.
Celebration of
It's
him.
on Monday.
Yeah. But his birthday is Saturday.
Mhm.
I'm like really torn with a lot of things because Martin put himself. The thing that I love about Martin is that he put himself out there.
Mhm.
He was willing to take that bullet. He knew it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know.
he knew it was coming.
Yeah, he knew it. But there were great men behind him, you know, and one of the men that needs to be to look at his stuff as far as civil rights is concerned. And this man had an alternate lifestyle, but his name was Bayard Rustin, Brother Outsider. You have to look at him because he was the primary architect behind a lot of things that Martin Luther King did. Okay. What the Montgomery Bus Boycott, the strategist for that was Bayard Rustin. The March on Washington, the strategist for that was Bayard Rustin, who was an openly gay man. And they did not. It was a lot of things in the civil rights movement. There were a lot of compromises that they made, you know, to keep the civil rights movement and make it palatable for the oppressor. You know, they didn't want to upset him, but they were still coming with what they wanted, but they didn't want to upset him. So take Rosa Parks, for instance. Rosa Parks wasn't the catalyst for the Montgomery Bus Boycott. It was a Black pregnant teenager, but she was dark. She was dark, and they didn't want her to be the face of the movement. There's a lot of segregation and separation that's within us. Now, I ain't gonna preach. I'm gonna leave it right here because Mike got to do his. But there's some things
I'll take the time.
We gotta work out ourselves, you know. And because the one thing that we do as a people ourselves is that we're segregationists.
There you go. Okay, you just brought
right.
that all the way back around. You made my, but that's Buck. That's what I'm saying.
Man,
we're segregating ourselves.
Yeah,
that's what I said. When you talking about going to the back of the bus, we went to the back of the bus anyway because that's what.
But that's not. But that's nothing to be proud of. What he's saying basically is we hold ourselves back. We are a bigger problem to ourselves than we'll ever know because some of the things that we think are good for us ain't really good for us.
That is true. However, I think it's a natural thing for people to want to be around those.
It's nothing wrong with that. Everybody agrees with you 150%. It's just that you mixing the two at the level that it's a little close. That's all I'm saying. What you're saying is nothing wrong with it. Like I said, my grandmother was saying she was angry, but at the same time,
and a lot of old people were, by the way. That was another thing.
But
the civil rights movement was young people. Because
but the thing of it is that was fear. When you've been beat into submission, when everywhere you go, you're treated like a dog,
less than human.
It's hard.
So listen to this. This is the first demand of the March on Washington. I want you to check this out.
Okay.
And I want you to compare it to the news that's going on today, right? It says comprehensive and effective civil rights legislation from the present Congress. So what are we still asking for today? They talking about the Voting Rights Act.
Right. That's right.
Right. Exactly.
That's true.
And check this out now. Check this out now. Without compromise or filibuster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do it.
They were talking about that back then. Wow.
And this is what he says: to guarantee to all Americans access to all public accommodation, decent housing, adequate and integrated education, and listen here, the last thing in the first demand, the right to vote. And now
the right to vote.
So what are
we talking about now?
Yeah, what are we? And that was in
Same thing.
63. And
Right.
that's right. And it'll be what? It'll be 60 years coming in 2023.
Yep.
Yeah,
No,
absolutely. The point about Dr. King that people don't understand too is that him and Malcolm X was assassinated 3 years prior to Dr. King.
Mhm.
Both men, again, I keep telling people this, were 39 years old. 39, that is young.
That's young. That's very young.
For what
Very
they've
young.
accomplished in 39 years walking the earth. That is an accomplishment that will never be duplicated.
Makes me
And
feel
going-
like a loser.
Well, going back to Dr. King, for example, here's a man who originally was born Michael King
that's
and
right.
changed his name to Martin
Martin. That's right.
to align himself with Martin Luther, the Lutheran. So again, his vision was always about peace. And I talked to other people about this during the time when they were going through it. When you talk about Dr. King in his beginning speeches about trying to help Black people, but then he went beyond that and talked about, he talked about fair wages. He talked about the Vietnam War. And some Black people were like, wait, what happened to us? He was not trying to free just Black America. He was trying to free America, period.
Period. Right. He was trying to help gays.
Everybody.
Bayard, what's his name? Bayard Rustin. He was gay.
Right.
He was trying to help all kind of people
See,
for civil rights.
the danger was that this man he was convincing other people. He said, wait a minute, we sitting at the table. He said, wait a minute, you poor and I'm poor. You say, wait a minute, come over here and sit on this side of the table.
Right.
And
There you go.
I'm gonna come over there and sit on that side of the table where you at.
That's
Let's
right.
look at one another.
Yeah. Well,
He's
yeah,
still poor.
and I mean, I think of the fact that I mean, obviously we can't go back and change history, but it really is something to think about. What would have happened if the civil rights movement had never happened? Where we'd be, the Black people would be, where women would be at this point, where all different races would be. Gays would be. It really is
I don't
interesting
want
to
to
think
think
about.
about that.
And well, listen. So like that. Did you ever watch the Handmaid's Tale on? I think it's
Yeah,
Hulu.
so
or
it
whatever?
comes on that series. Yeah,
And I don't even watch that. I don't even watch it because it was so stupid. But it was obvious. The point of the series was, what if Germany had won the war? And it's like somebody needs to do a series based upon what if there were no civil rights movement, and where would the country and the world be at this point? Although I guess we can kind of look back into the 90s when apartheid still happened in South Africa, and maybe that will tell us a little something. I don't know.
A week after the assassination of Martin Luther King, there was a movement in Greenwich Village that opened the door for the LGBTQ community. That's when their theories and that's when their movements started coming across. Everything that was made, everything that was gained in the civil rights movement, they used that to their advantage.
Yeah.
Without that,
including other races outside of the European white American.
Absolutely. Right. Without that, they wouldn't have no traction at all.
And the women's movement benefited too. I mean, obviously,
every movement benefited.
Every movement.
So, Buck, you asked the question, "What if?" And to answer that question, I would tell you go look at the movie Antebellum. That's your what if. Because
you told me about that movie before, right? That movie I started to watch it. That was a hard movie to watch.
And that's the reality that you're talking about. What if? What if there was no civil rights movement? What if there was no Dr. King? What if there was no Malcolm X?
Was that the premise? I thought that movie was just a period piece where it was set back in the slavery time.
You got to watch the movie, man. You got to watch the movie.
Yeah, I didn't watch the whole thing. It was too hard to watch.
Yeah, because the people that were the powers to be then would love to have that same scenario now.
Yeah, but you're still talking about You're still talking about slavery. I'm not saying go back to slavery.
No. But that was totally not your choice to go back or to go ahead from it.
But that wasn't the whole point of the topic. Wasn't go back to slavery.
No.
You gonna change my topic?
You said no.
You gonna change my topic? Is that your right to change my topic?
You gonna let me talk, or you gonna keep on talking over me?
I'm talking over you. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah.
You're so stupid. Stop.
Right, because you said, would things evolve naturally if there was no civil rights leaders like Martin Luther King? And the answer is no. Okay.
You get it?
You know, because the powers to be would not let us evolve to where we are today. They would oppress it, they would stop it. And if they can kick it back another 50, 60, 70 years, they would do it in a heartbeat.
And that's your opinion and a valid one. I'm not saying it's not valid at all.
That oppression, the idea of the oppression is all that pressure is going to bring forth a diamond. It's going to bring it.
Absolutely.
Maybe the name may not be Martin Luther King. The name might not have been Malcolm X, but
it might have been somebody else, right?
Yeah, exactly. So whatever the situation, those forces that was like that was gonna bring somebody up, because anytime someone is pushed down upon, you're gonna rise.
Right.
It's only a matter of time before
like a Mandela.
It's gonna be it's there.
It was it was a thought.
There has been nothing but messiahs throughout the history of mankind.
Yeah. Exactly. And I'm not saying, listen, I never said, I know we got to wrap it up because we're coming on 2 hours, but I never said that I wish there was never a civil rights movement. I'm just saying it's an interesting thought to think that, you know, what if there were no civil rights movement? Would the black community be stronger? Because right now it's not a great situation.
Listen, no, you said leaving. I'm sorry. Hold on, Professor. You said that if the smart people, smart blacks left, that would be leaving the dumb blacks or the poor blacks behind.
I didn't say smart. I didn't say smart and dumb.
But that's basically what you were saying.
Okay. So, you know, that was written about. That was basically written about through. That was written about or pointed out by W.E.B. Du Bois. Talented 10th. He, you know, so just check into that. He stated that. But as long as there it was, is, and was oppression, you know. So what you said, Buck, because we are oppressed, and the only way we could have this equal thing that you were saying is that the elites wouldn't oppress us. But if they oppressed us, it was always gonna be, you know.
Right.
And there's never been a time that, you know, that since we've been here in this country where we have not been oppressed.
Amen.
Yeah, there it is right there. There it is. There it is right there. No, it's a good Bug, let me give you credit. It's a thought that does need to be put out there, because when you everybody doesn't understand evolution and what it really does. See, these people, you know, African Americans or coloreds or Negroes at this time and place were suppressed, man. They were suppressed. When somebody puts you in a box, ties it up, and you can't get out, and you're beating to get out, it's not a good place to be in. It's not that we shouldn't have prominent black communities and remember our Howard universities and different things that we have in our lives and in our country. But my grandmother was afraid. That's not how you want to make decisions. You don't want to make decisions out of fear.
Right.
And that's what was happening.
But this is my last point, just to reiterate, I was really speaking of the role models being gone.
Yeah, but they're not gone.
They're not in the neighborhood anymore.
But that doesn't mean they're gone. They don't have to be in the neighborhood to be. They're not forgotten.
They're not seen though.
Okay, but what would stop them from being seen, especially today with social media?
They stay away from the hood.
Yeah, well, they're gonna do that anyway.
Wait.
You're gonna make them stay. You're gonna make them stay in the hood so they'll respect it.
All I was saying was that they're not around for people to see, to be. What is a role model for? For people to see them and to encourage them.
one of
That's not what it is. That's not
one
what
of the,
role
no,
models
no.
are.
I mean, I'm good with that. But one of these things
Me too.
about these role models and stuff like that, and the way you are seeing it, who's choosing the role model?
Yeah.
Who's choosing the role model in order for you to see it? See, because they give us a lot of leaders, but those leaders are not necessarily the ones that we need. I want to suggest to you all to find Dr. Julia Hare when she spoke at Tavis Smiley's, and God rest her soul, Tavis Smiley's State of the Black Union, where she said, when she talked about Black leaders and leading Blacks, there are some people who are presented or who are designated by the elites to lead us. But a leader in the true essence is one that's chosen by the people, not by the elite or the oppressor or the one that has you in bondage. Okay, Reggie, I'm gonna tell you, I want you to be the leader. That doesn't. The person grows up from the grassroots, from the people that surrounds them, not who is selected by the media and stuff like that. When you say you want to see, so I'm just saying, well, what do you think about somebody that the media has chosen? You understand? Because a lot of our leaders that the media has chosen hasn't been good for us. One of the beautiful things I loved about Dick Gregory was he told some things like it is. And so when people would ask him to come down and to arbitrate some of the things that he was going on with the leaders in the community, he would always tell them, man, don't you send me in there by myself. Because I'm liable to come out here and what y'all thinking y'all wanting, you're not gonna get. So you better go in here with me. So we got to have leaders that's gonna be true to the cause.
There you go.
And
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take up so much time.
A lot of our leaders are true to the cause of their own profiteering.
Yeah,
that's true.
I didn't mean to take up so much time. I mean, I just thought it was a good topic.
It was intentional.
With the holiday coming up. Yeah. With the holiday coming up, I thought
that's good. It's good. It's good. We have to be able to talk amongst ourselves, and that's the whole freedom of speech. So good stuff. I don't worry about me this week. Let's close it out, and I'll talk about what I'm going to do next week.
Okay, there you go. So that's all right. That's what I like about this panel. It's like, okay, I'll moderate too, and everybody moderates throws back to me. I like that rhythm. That's always cool beats. Again, for all of you out there, we do this every Thursday. Street News Now, 6 Guys and You, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. on the West Coast. Make sure you go to our YouTube channel and type in SNN, Street News Now. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. Also catch us on Facebook Live, Twitter, and Twitch. I nickname my brothers here the masters of intellectual chaos. For Dr. Ron Ford, for Professor Reggie Miles, for Mike Love, for Buck Wild and his friend Jack Daniels. Well, hey, they're buddies. What can I say, man? They got included me to the show too.
And kissing cousins.
That's right. And for our fearless leader, Lee Michaels, I'm Chris Pace. Continue to be peaceful. Have a good one. Take care.
Peace.
Peace
Be
out.
safe.